Hi Pisces, welcome to your May 2024 horoscope. May has a couple of key lessons or themes that it will sort of keep reiterating over and over. The first one of these has to do with the planet Pluto. The event that kicks off this theme in the month of May is happening on May 2nd. And on May 2nd, Pluto will go retrograde. Pluto is in your 12th house, and it actually entered your 12th house in January of this year. Now that Pluto at the beginning of May is going to go retrograde, you might find that the same themes you were dealing with in January are sort of being reconsidered. You are taking a look at the actions you took back in January, February, and you're maybe reconsidering if you could have done something differently. So it's sort of like rewinding and reflecting back over this entire area of your life. And I did a whole 1.5 hour live on Pluto and what Pluto through the houses means. So I'll leave the card for you right here so that you can go more in depth. But just for a quick recap for the May horoscope, this for you is the theme around compassion. Since January, you might have been feeling that you are seeing the sadness of life, the negativity of life, the not so nice parts of life, and you have been really feeling them to your core. You've been really affected by them. And perhaps the way you responded to that since January may have been by closing yourself off from it, by passing that homeless person on the street, and because really looking at them and acknowledging their situation tears you up inside, you have just chosen to ignore it, to pretend you don't see them there, to pretend that homelessness doesn't exist. And now that Pluto is going retrograde, you might be reconsidering whether that approach is actually the best one. And again, this is just one example. If you want to learn more about Pluto in the 12th house, I do recommend watching my live on Pluto. And besides May 2nd, there are other key dates in May that may bring up or sort of re-trigger this story over and over. May 3rd may bring up similar stories or these feelings of really feeling the unpleasant parts of life. And this is because on May 3rd, Mars will sextile Pluto. It could also be on May 20th that parts of this story come back up again. And this is because Mars conjunct the nodes on that day. And in evolutionary astrology, which is sort of the type of astrology that I practice, the nodes and Pluto are actually quite connected. This is because the lessons that we all need to learn with our Pluto placement actually helps push us even further into our North Node direction. So this is why on May 20th, even though nothing's happening with Pluto itself, the contact between Mars and the North Node might bring up that story again. Because Mars and the North Node are in your 2nd house, on May 20th, you might especially be approaching these deep feelings by trying to sort of control your own situation and give yourself a sense of stability through the things you own, through your finances. So it could be on this day that you see the unfair parts of life, the unpleasant parts of life, the parts that are downright ugly. And as a way of coping with these, you direct your focus on making sure that these will not happen to you, that you will always provide for yourself and be there for yourself. Continuing with this story about learning compassion, May 22nd and May 25th will also be key dates. On the 22nd, the Sun trines Pluto, And on the 25th, Venus trines Pluto. The trines are a little bit more active, so it's possible that on the 25th and 22nd, the stories that come up, the feelings that come up cannot be ignored the same way that they can usually be ignored with when we have sextiles, for example. Trines are a little bit more active, and usually there's a sort of action that needs to be taken. The Sun and Venus will be trining Pluto from your 4th house. So on the 22nd and the 25th, it might be that some of your family dynamics are especially trying to teach you this lesson of compassion. So this could play a couple of ways. It could mean that because you see all of these gut-wrenching things happening in the world around you, you decide to direct your attention and your love to your family and your home to make sure that you create an environment that's different. Or it could be that there are things that are coming up from your family and your home that are actually triggering and amplifying all of the feelings that you experience about the world being heavy and dark and difficult. The second major theme that's playing out in May for you, Pisces, is this relationship between you and your local environment. How you can help define your immediate surroundings, and also how your immediate surroundings define you. So let's get a little bit more into what I mean by this. One of the key dates around this story is happening on May 8th when we have a new moon in Taurus. During this new moon, there's also a sextile between Saturn in your 1st house and the Sun in your 3rd house. On this day, you might feel like your local environment is really sort of outshining you or is really defining you to the point where you feel like you cannot escape from these expectations that are placed on you. You cannot maybe express yourself in a way that you want to as your own individual. And this could be as simple as your neighbors maybe complaining that you make too much noise. And as a result, because of this situation in your local environment, you have to sort of limit yourself in some way. You have to, stop speaking as loudly, or you have to maybe adjust what time you get up, or anything like that that involves making noise and disrupting your neighbors. And this theme could also be triggered again on May 13th when Venus sextiles Saturn. This relationship between your 1st and 3rd house, between yourself expressing yourself in an uninhibited way versus your local surroundings. And what's really special about this theme between expressing yourself without any inhibition and being defined by your local surroundings is that it's not only triggered with the Sun and Venus sextiling Saturn, but later in the month, as the Sun and Venus start to exit your 3rd house, they also sextile Neptune, who is also in your 1st house. So all throughout, we see this repetition between these two areas of your life. And whereas at the beginning of the month, you might feel more of that restriction because Saturn is the one that's part of the conversation, towards the end of the month, you might feel a little bit more open, a little bit more boundary-less. And this could be both a positive and a negative thing. It could mean that you start to see the beauty in the situation, that you acknowledge the love you have for others and for yourself, and you try to find a middle way. But it could also mean that you are a little bit disillusioned, or you don't see things exactly as they really are. You tend to see more of the positive side of things, but that might not be how things actually are. Let's continue chatting further about your 3rd house, which is in the sign of Taurus. Your 3rd house is getting so much action during the month of May. Not only because we have the Sun and Venus transiting through your third house, but also because Uranus and Jupiter are there as well. So some key dates are May 13th, when the Sun conjuncts Uranus, May 18th, when Venus conjuncts Uranus and the Sun conjuncts Jupiter, and May 23rd, when Venus conjuncts Jupiter. So really for the span of those 2 weeks, the 13th up until the 23rd, give or take a couple of days, this will be a really central theme for you, which is all about your local surroundings. It's all about your siblings. Maybe you are talking with them more. It's all about your neighbors. Maybe you have to collaborate together to fix the fence separating the two of you. Maybe it's really more on a general sense about your local surroundings, that you are getting involved in your community center and giving and volunteering to help others. I cannot help but highlight that the third house is also the house of overload of information. And especially as you have so many planets in the third house during May, you might find that your mind is quite busy, and you might find that there is just so much information coming in, and you might feel overwhelmed because of that. So I would just advise, make sure you take breaks for yourself. Make sure you continue to do practices that help you quiet your mind. Towards the end of the month, all of this attention from your third house starts to shift into your fourth house as the planets start to move into the sign of Gemini. The Sun is the one that initiates this on May 20th, when it leaves your third house and enters your fourth house. On May 23rd, we have a full moon in Sagittarius, while the Sun is in Gemini, again highlighting this axis between your fourth and 10th house. On May 26th, Jupiter follows suit and also enters Gemini. And actually, Jupiter entering Gemini is really a big thing. I would say it's one of the biggest things that will be happening in the month of May. Because Jupiter moves quite slow, so it will stay in your fourth house for a whole year. And the longer a planet stays in a house, the more time it has to really work its magic and to really make bigger and more impactful changes in our lives. So already from the 20th, you will find your energy as the Sun enters your fourth house. You will find your energy shifting more towards the home, moving that energy away from all the information around you, away from what are your neighbors, your siblings doing, what's happening at the community center, and drawing a little bit more within, caring about your home, caring about your family, whether the ones that you live with, like a partner or children, but also your parents and that sort of family. And now that Jupiter is going to be in your fourth house for a whole year, you might find that there is abundance and flow in your family and in your home. And of course, this can manifest in many different ways. And later in May, I will do a live talking about Jupiter through the houses. So if you want to make sure you catch that one, make sure you subscribe so you get notified when it's happening. But if we were to do sort of like a really quick summary, the way it could sort of work out, abundance in your home, there could be a new addition to your family, whether a child or a pet. It could also happen that you move to a bigger, more extravagant home. It could be that your relationships within your family become quite central and strengthened and just flow abundantly. So that is everything for your May horoscope, Pisces. I do feel like May is a beautiful time to get out into your community and start to see how you can interact with others there, because there still might be some interesting insight and some abundance coming from that area. Especially until Jupiter enters Gemini, I would largely advise you to keep connecting, keep spending time out in your community. And later, once Jupiter enters Gemini, I see the second half of May, you are sort of retracting from the rest of the world and entering the next year of focusing on your own abundance, focusing on the abundance of your home and your family. Thank you so much for joining me, Pisces. Let me know down in the comments if you're excited for Jupiter entering your fourth house. What were some of the experiences you had with Jupiter in your third house? I would love to know. Make sure you subscribe if you want to catch the June horoscopes, and I hope to see you again soon.